Hi, everybody, and welcome back. I apologize for the background noise. There's absolutely nothing I can do about it. They are cutting some branches here in the complex in preparation for the snow we are expecting next week. Okay, folks, like promised, we are going to be chatting about the dinosaurs today. And why on earth would old Bookworm be talking about dinosaurs today, you ask? Well, it's because old Bookworm is still a bit hot under the collar when it comes to an old royal who wants to make war instead of love, as he throws the word climate change around without discretion. But we'll get to that a little later. Now we are going to talk about the dinosaurs first. We all know that dinosaurs existed because their skeletons and bones were found all over the world. What we do not know for sure is why they became extinct. There are a few theories. There is some geological evidence that indicates that there was a worldwide environmental change resulting from the impact of a very large celestial object with the Earth and or from vast volcanic eruptions. And then there's a third presumption, namely that climate change interfered with food supply, which resulted in extinction. However, none of these three theories on their own explains the mass extinction of a diverse range of animals on land, in the ocean, and in the air. Scientists thus had to choose between a catastrophic event or extinction over a long period of time. Fortunately, with the advances in science, eventually rocks and bone fragments could be dated, and it very soon became clear that the extinction of such a vast range of species seemed to have occurred rather suddenly, and therefore there was finally a unanimous agreement that some kind of catastrophic event must have occurred. This hypothesis was strengthened by the discovery of an enrichment of the rare element iridium in a narrow bank of geological strata, and this was proposed to be from a huge asteroid or comet that collided with the Earth, an occurrence which coincided with the time of the mass extinction. Then a third event happened which further strengthened this theory, and that was the discovery of an impact crater in the Yucatan Peninsula of the Gulf of Mexico. Now, confirmed by its size and structure, it was clear that a very large celestial object had indeed collided with the Earth at the time of these mass extinctions. The consequences of that impact would indeed have been catastrophic, not just in the geographic region of the impact, but worldwide because of the environmental changes, or then, as Prince Charles would prefer to call it, climate changes brought on by the atmospheric dust and an aerosol cloud that would have remained probably for years. Yes, we are talking here about a period of dim sunlight, a short term but maybe severe temperature drop, etc., etc. Yes, there must have been severe climate changes or disruptions in the months, maybe even years following this impact. So, although there were other findings which could have contributed to the dinosaurs' extinction, particularly in the case of the airborne dinosaur types, it is generally accepted that a catastrophic event occurred which changed the climate and air quality. And ladies and gentlemen, here's the crux of the matter. there was not a single aeroplane around 65 million years ago. Okay, so let's move on to what is actually being said about climate change these days. According to the NOAA's 2020 annual report, the combined land and ocean temperatures has increased at an average rate of 0.13 degrees Fahrenheit or 0.08 degrees Celsius per decade since 1880. The average rate of increase since 1981 was, however, 0.18 degrees Celsius or 0.32 degrees Fahrenheit. Another publication gives it as 1.7 degrees Celsius over 100 years. Okay, so I actually done my nut and wrote down the temperatures of 3 cities in 3 different countries at the same time on the same date, namely 10 a.m. on the 2nd of November for a period of 10 years. And I'm sorry to say, but I do not see an increase in temperature. What I do see is a normal fluctuation due to weather conditions. For instance, it was 12 degrees Celsius on the 2nd of November 2015 at 10 a.m. in Toronto. It was 6 degrees Celsius at 10 a.m. November 2nd, 2019 in Toronto, etc., etc. In Cape Town, it was 21 degrees Celsius on November 2nd, 2010 at 10 a.m., 26 degrees Celsius on November 2nd, 2016, and 24 degrees Celsius on the 2nd of November 2020, etc., etc. I'm not going to read it all to you. It is boring. But I'm just mentioning these to prove to you that I actually did the exercise. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am crazy. I know that. The point I wish to make is that I believe that this whole climate change hoo-ha is not only bogus and a further effort to control a portion of the world population, but that climate change is something which has happened for as long as the Earth existed, and that there is little we can do about it. Earth's magnetic north moves over time, plus the Earth's journey around the Sun is not a perfect circle, but rather an ellipse, a path which changes little by little over many years as the Earth's balance and tilt is impacted by its shifting magnetic poles and of course other things which could impact it, like a huge comet or asteroid did 65 million years ago. Yes, I am studying the subject a little, so I can at least make an intelligent sounding argument, and hence I've read about holes in the ozone and CO2 emissions, but still, none of it scares me enough to call a summit and have hundreds of world leaders and thousands of delegates fly in to talk shit. I mean, it's like a subscriber said, since when is CO2 that bad? It is taken in by plants, which then release oxygen in its stead. CO2 is even pumped into greenhouses to increase yield. So, who is going to explain that aspect of it to us? Maybe Prince Charlie would like to give it a try? I'm just asking. Anyway, having said all of this, my issue is not with preserving what we can of this planet. I am a huge conservation fanatic. I absolutely believe that we should be careful and mindful of how we use our Earth's resources. In my home, we do recycle, we do preserve energy, we do what we can to be careful and mindful of the environment. And if anything should be taught or preached, then preach environmental activism as it makes more sense. Climate change has turned into an almost nondescript bandwagon for the rich, which I do not agree with. Okay, so let us move on from the dinosaurs and climate change to Meghan and Harry. Remember us talking about Bod Sentinel and Mr. Christopher Bosie and the Twitter list of hate accounts supposedly trolling or hating on poor Mixie Daisy Markle, Duchess of Fake and Lies? Well, my dears, it was all a prelude to what's coming next. You see, it is reported that the Frog Prince, the Ginger Whinger, will speak out against the internet lie machine and media propaganda at an online summit organized by Wired magazine next week, November the 9th. According to the description, his lecture will cover harmful social media algorithms which reward shocking content, the disintegrating line between fact and fiction, media propaganda, and online hatred. And before I move on, it is speculated that Harry's appearance fee will be as much as £1 million. Just by the way, Harry will be in attendance as the co-founder of Archwell and will be one of the three speakers at the event. Meghan will not accompany old Harry to the event as she is scheduled to be at an online event organized by the New York Times about women reaching economic and professional parity. So, okay, here we have Harry Windsor, Wales, Mountbatten Windsor, the very same man who was party to 20 lies being told on an Oprah interview, which was broadcast all over the world, standing up to lecture us on lies being told on the internet. The man whose media propaganda machine, namely Sunshine Sachs and whoever else they employed to speak bullshit through the media, is currently making the majority of Brits and Americans turn green around the gills. A man whose media propaganda has oversaturated our senses and sensibilities. This is also the very same Harry who is going to lecture the public on harmful social media algorithms which reward shocking content. Yep, just like the $18 million they supposedly received from Spotify. So come on, Harry, let's hear some more. Oh, yes, the disintegrating line between fact and fiction. Yeah, I understand. Just like the story your wife told about getting married 3 days before getting married. And just like your story that Daddy Charles cut you off when year-end financials showed that it was all fiction. Or shall we call it what it is, namely a big fat lie? I guess we can now say it without feeling guilty. Like father, like son, two hypocrites with the boldness and entitlement like none other, at least not that I have seen in my lifetime. But let's move on to Harry's wife. Well, Mexi Daisy will appear in a half-hour session called Minding the Gap. And guess who she will be in talks with? Who Her discussion partner will be Melody Dobson, CEO and President of Ariel Investments and the Chairwoman of Starbucks Corporation. I guess this explains why Megxi gifted workers at Plus a $25 Starbucks voucher. Oh, Megxi, Megxi, you are so transparent. Anyway, here she is, and next Tuesday she will share with us her expertise and experience in reaching economic and professional parity or equality. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, on Tuesday, Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Fantasy, Half Truths and Lies, will explain to you how to bag an upcoming movie director if you want to be an actress, how you sleep with half the cast, writers, and producers to get roles, and how to bag a prince in order to gain infamy and earn $1 million to appear on a show and talk about the pay gap between men and women. And she will, my dear friends, be doing so from her $14 million mansion. Need I say more? I think my sentiments are very clear to you all. And now, as I promised, I want to chat to you about Brad Pitt and a little about Angelina Jolie. The couple, Brad and Angelina, split in September 2016, and other than an alleged short flirtation between Brad and model Nico Portulasky, we have not heard about any love interest or long-term dating on either side. And now I'm reading that dating is not currently a priority as the ongoing custody battle is taking its toll on the couple, particularly on Brad, as Angelina has primary custody. But I have no desire to talk about Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's love life. But seeing that Megxi Daisy Markle Mountbatten Windsor, Duchess of Talking Crap and Pretense, once wanted poor Angelina to mentor her and is now instead trying to be Angelina 2.0, that is, when she's not trying to be Diana 2.0, I would like to talk to you about Brad and Angelina's charity work. Now, Angelina Jolie is a dedicated humanitarian and is a special envoy to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and has taken special interest in the countries in which her three adoptive children had been born: Cambodia, Ethiopia, and Vietnam. And she has been doing this for nearly 2 decades. Yes, people, 20 whole years of her life. She started with the United Nations as a Goodwill ambassador before she became a special envoy in 2012 and has continued her work with refugee populations to this very day. But that is not all. In 2021, Angelina was named godmother of the Women for Bees initiative, a 5-year program designed to train women as beekeepers. In 2012, Angelina also teamed up with the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office in the United Kingdom to start the Preventing Sexual Violence in Conflict initiative to raise awareness of the extent of sexual violence against children and adults during armed conflict. In 2018, 150 countries signed a commitment to end impunity for war zone rape. So Angelina Jolie and others, obviously, stuck to the same project since 2012 until 2018 and until they could get those 150 written agreements and commitments. We are talking about at least 6 years on the same project. In 2003, Angelina founded the Maddox Jolie Pitt Foundation, a conservation group that works to preserve Cambodia's environment and endangered wildlife. Angelina is also patron of the Harness Wildlife Foundation, a Namibian organization devoted to saving the country's endangered wildlife. Angelina is also ambassador for the SOS Children's Villages and has been for several years and has visited many of their international outposts like those in Haiti, Jordan, Ethiopia, etc. She has produced several movies to portray the struggle of refugees. Movies like In the Land of Blood and Honey, a movie which she also wrote and which takes place during the Bosnian War. She also produced and co-wrote and directed First They Killed My Father, which she made about and for Cambodia. She also created the Jolie Pitt Foundation with her then husband Brad Pitt in 2006, and their foundation donated $1 million to Global Action for Children, $1 million to Doctors Without Borders, $333,000 to SOS Children's Villages, 1 million to an aid group in Darfur, etc., etc. In 2012, the Style of Jolie, a jewelry collection with designer Robert Prokop, was launched to benefit a charity called the Education Partnership for Children in Conflict. And 100% of the profits went to the charity, which only a year later already built a school in Afghanistan. Angelina also established the Jolie Legal Fellowship. It was created to support the government of Haiti in their efforts to strengthen the judicial system. In 2011, Natalie Nozile from an SOS village in Santo, Haiti, was chosen as the first Jolie Legal Fellow after graduating from the University of Florida. Now, although Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie did quite a bit of charity and humanitarian work together, Brad on his own did more than his share. One of Brad Pitt's best known efforts towards charity and humanitarianism is his efforts towards building affordable housing on a large scale after the devastation of Hurricane Katrina. Brad committed $5 million in donations, and in October 2008, the first 6 homes were completed. According to tax records, in 2006 alone, Brad and Angelina donated more than $8 million to charity. In 2007, Brad and Angelina donated to 3 relief organizations in Chad and Darfur. Along with George Clooney, Matt Damon, Chad Cheadle, Jerry Weintraub, Brad is one of the founders of Not on Our Watch, an organization who works to focus global attention to stop and prevent genocide such as that in Darfur. As already mentioned, the Jolie Pitt Foundation donated large amounts to UN refugee agencies to help Pakistanis displaced by fighting, made huge donations to Doctors Without Borders, etc. Brad traveled to Africa for the Make Poverty History campaign. He helped Wycliffe Jean with his Clean Streets project. Brad took part in the America, a Tribute to Heroes charity telethon for victims of 9/11. Brad also supports other charities like Cure Autism Now, EB Medical Research Foundation, Global Action for Children, Human Rights Watch, Make a Wish Foundation, UNICEF, World Food Program, and many others. But it's not only the money Brad and Angelina donated that matters, but also the fact that they are prepared to give their time and actually get down, boots on the ground, do the dirty work themselves. In November 2020, Brad was spotted delivering groceries from a truck in Los Angeles. And this brings me to the point I wish to make about Harry and Meghan, and in particular about Meghan. Meghan clearly has mental issues, but the biggest problem these issues are causing her is tone deafness and a complete lack of insight. I'm sure that Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt had bought volunteers working with them coffee before. I'm sure they made small donations of foodstuffs here and there. As a matter of fact, I know they did, but not because it was splashed as headlines all over the newspapers, but because a volunteer or organization posted about it on their Facebook page. We hardly ever know when Brad or Angelina do their charity work. That is, unless they are attending a glitzy event for charity. The rest of the time, they go about their business. Therefore, Brad and Angelina maintain our respect and appreciation when one of their many charitable works does make it into the news. We are not blasted and saturated with every nappy lunch or coffee they donate or gift or share with others. Megan needs to learn less is more, and she herself is the reason we are sick of her sanctimonious face. The other glaring and very obvious difference is that both Angelina and Brad are not afraid to give their time and doing the dirty work themselves, going to the SOS villages themselves, getting hands on and involved with the building of these sustainable homes, or getting on the back of a truck to deliver groceries. Megan, on the other hand, wants to solicit others to do the work, like with her 40 times 40 initiative. The third thing, and for me the most important, both Brad and Angelina begin projects and finish it. They start a project or join organizations and stick to it for years, like Angelina and her work with the United Nations on refugee matters, which she had been consistently working at for more than 20 years. Brad himself had been consistently involved with a number of projects with regards to cheap, sustainable green housing developments and have even met with President Obama on these issues. Neither of them present as fly-by-nights who try to jump on every bandwagon that comes along, whereas Meghan and Harry do that jumping from youth mental health to BLM to internet bullying to climate change to paid family leave. They jump from Netflix to Spotify to CBS, from James Corden to Oprah. There is no consistency in their actions, no completion of anything they start. I mean, only 2 podcasts in nearly a year. They have nothing to show on Netflix yet, and so on and so on. And this is likely one of the biggest reasons why celebrities and politicians, movie makers and policymakers alike will be a little weary or afraid of getting involved with them. Brad and Angelina are both private people, but they do not present as paranoid, proudly having shared the birth of their 3 children with us, taking them along to functions, resulting in 6 well behaved, at least in public, children, because they were taught how to behave in public. Like with George, Charlotte, and Louis, we saw Maddox, Pax, Sahara, Shiloh, Knox, and Vivian grow up, and therefore one feels protective of them, a sense created by familiarity with their faces and process of growing up. But when it comes to Harry and Meghan, them taunting us with altered images and false information on their children, which had gone on for far too long and had now created apathy among the public. We don't care anymore. We don't know the children, and you cannot care for something you do not know or have never seen. Even the curiosity factor had become lame and boring and had now passed. So there you go, guys. If Miss Meghan Markle wants to emulate Angelina Jolie, she should look at more than Angelina's clothing and gorgeous hair, and perhaps rather try to learn a few life lessons from her. Okay, guys, with all the noise in the background, I think this is enough from me for now. Obviously, I still have a whole lot I would like to talk to you guys about, but I'm going to cut it right here for now, and I'm going to ask you guys to take exceptionally good care of yourselves. Until we meet again on the next video, bye.